The FBI agents moved through that graduation ceremony like a wave of dark suits, and I stood at that microphone watching my son's face change from confusion to panic as he realized they were coming for him. My name is Dorothy Mae Washington, and I'm 64 years old, and what I discovered about my own child would break any mother's heart. But first, where are you watching from today? Memphis? Atlanta? Houston? Drop your city below because elder abuse is everywhere, and this story might save your mama, your grandmama, or maybe even you. 3 years ago, I was counting quarters for the bus, stretching my $1,100 Social Security check like it was made of rubber, choosing between my blood pressure pills and putting food on the table. My husband Earl had been gone 8 years. Construction accident took him when that scaffolding collapsed, and I'd been making do ever since, cleaning offices at night despite my arthritis acting up something terrible. The sisters at Mount Olive Baptist kept noticing how my clothes hung looser each Sunday, how my hands shook during prayer circle, but I just smiled and said, "The Lord provides," because that's what you do when you're trying to keep your dignity intact. Marcus was my baby boy, my only son, the one I walked through snow to get to his school conferences, the one I went without dinner for so his stomach stayed full. Raised him right here in Orange Mound, in this little duplex where the pipes freeze every winter and the AC can't keep up with Memphis summers. That boy watched me iron other people's clothes for extra money, watched me save coins in a pickle jar marked Marcus College Fund, watched me pray over bills spread across this very kitchen table. I thought I'd raised him to know the value of hard work, the importance of family, the fear of the Lord. Baby, was I wrong? It started so innocent, the way the devil's work always does. Marcus pulled up in his new Lexus one Tuesday evening. I remember because I was soaking my feet after a double shift cleaning the medical building downtown, and he had his wife, Brittany, with him, both of them dressed like they'd stepped out of a magazine. "Mama," he said, sitting down beside me on my worn couch, the one Earl and I bought secondhand 20 years ago. "We found something that could help you and help with your bills, too." Brittany pulled out this folder full of official-looking papers, logos, and seals all over them, talking about some clinical trial for preventive dementia treatment. "Mrs. Dorothy," she said in that fake sweet voice she uses, like honey poured over broken glass, "they're paying participants $4,500 a month. It's completely safe, just vitamin injections basically, but they need to monitor seniors who have family history of memory issues. Now, my mama lived to 89 sharp as a tack, and daddy died at 91 doing crossword puzzles, but Marcus jumped in quick. "Mama, you've been forgetting things lately. Remember you called me 3 times about Cousin Jerome's funeral?" The funeral I called about 3 times because he kept giving me different times for it, but when your child looks at you with concern like that, you start second-guessing yourself. What would you have done? Comment below if you've ever had family make you doubt your own mind. That first injection like to kill me. I mean that literally. Vomiting, shaking, couldn't hardly see straight for 2 days. Marcus said it was normal, just my body adjusting to the vitamins. Brittany was right there with her phone, recording everything for the researchers, she said. I should have known then, Lord knows I should have known. But when you're choosing between keeping your lights on and trusting your son, sometimes you make the wrong choice. The pattern became clear as day after a few months. Every injection on Thursday, and by Friday, I couldn't remember my own address. Saturday, I'd be trembling so bad I couldn't hold a fork. Sunday, I'd miss church because I couldn't get out of bed. By Monday, I'd start feeling more myself, and then Thursday would roll around again. The sisters at church started whispering, and not the good kind. Sister Loretta pulled me aside after service. One Sunday I managed to make it to, said, "Dorothy, honey, we're worried about you." But here's what was really happening while I was fighting through the fog. Brittany had started a whole YouTube channel called Dealing with My Meals Dementia Journey. 50,000 subscribers watching her document my decline. every confused moment after those injections edited together to make me look like I'd lost my mind. Making money off my suffering, can you imagine? And that wasn't even the worst part. I found out they were collecting from 3 different research centers using my forged signature. My own son, the boy whose diapers I changed with hands raw from bleach, was stealing from me. But it wasn't just money. It was my dignity, my sanity, my very life they were trying to take. The turning point came when Dr. James Harrison knocked on my door. Dr. Harrison served with Earl in Vietnam, and he'd been coming by every year on the anniversary of Earl's death to check on me, bring me some of his wife's peach cobbler. This time, though, he took one look at me, and his face changed. "Dorothy," he said, settling his old bones into Earl's recliner, "something ain't right here." I tried to play it off, but Dr. Harrison wasn't just any doctor. He'd spent 30 years with the FDA investigating medical fraud before he retired. He asked to see my clinical trial paperwork, and baby, his face got darker with every page he read. "These companies don't exist," he said finally. "Dorothy, I've seen this before. They're poisoning you." The word hung in my kitchen like smoke from burnt cornbread. Poisoning. My own child was poisoning me. Dr. Harrison explained how certain drugs could mimic dementia symptoms temporarily, how criminals used them to make elderly folks seem incompetent so they could take control of their finances, their homes, their lives. He'd investigated a case where a woman in Nashville nearly died before they caught her daughter doing the exact same thing. "We need to call the FBI," he said, but I couldn't move. How do you call the FBI on your own baby? How do you reconcile the child you raised with the monster sitting across from you at Sunday dinner, asking if you've updated your will? But then I remembered something my mama used to say. The truth always comes to light, baby. Always. And I thought about all the other mothers, grandmothers, aunties out there who might be going through the same thing. So I said yes. Drop a heart in the comments if you understand that sometimes doing right means breaking your own heart. The FBI assigned Special Agent Patricia Coleman to my case, a sister with eyes that had seen too much but still held compassion. She sat at this very table where I taught Marcus his ABCs and explained what we were going to do. "Mrs. Washington," she said, "you're going to have to be strong, stronger than you've ever been. Can you do that?" Could I? I'd buried my husband, raised a child alone, worked until my knees gave out, and then worked some more. "Agent Coleman," I said, "I've been strong my whole life, but this time I'm going to be smart too." The first thing we did was switch out those poison injections with vitamin B12. Dr. Harrison handled that part, making sure the vials looked exactly the same. Then Agent Coleman had me wearing a wire tiny thing that fit right under the collar of my good church dress. We put cameras in my living room, hidden in the pictures of Marcus's graduation, his wedding, all those moments when I thought I'd raised him right. The evidence we gathered would make your stomach turn. I got Brittany on recording talking on her phone while she thought I was sleeping off one of her treatments. 3 more months of injections and she'll be completely dependent, she said, casual as discussing the weather. The house is worth $200K easy plus her life insurance. Then Marcus's voice in the background. The memory care facility will declare her incompetent within weeks. We've already got the paperwork started. They were planning to put me in a home, take my house, the house Earl and I saved for, the house where Marcus took his first steps, and collect my life insurance when I inevitably died from their poison. My own son. The one I stayed up with through fevers, who I taught to tie his shoes and say his prayers, was planning my death like it was a business transaction. Agent Coleman discovered I wasn't the only one. 12 elderly victims across Tennessee, Mississippi, and Arkansas. 2 had already died, ruled as natural causes because who questions when an 80-year-old with dementia passes away? The network was sophisticated. Fake companies, fake doctors, real poison, real theft. Over $2.3 million stolen from Folks who worked their whole lives just to have something to leave their grandbabies. I had to keep pretending, had to let them inject me with those vitamins while acting confused and weak. Every Thursday, Brittany would show up with her camera and her fake concern, and I'd shuffle around like I couldn't remember my own name, while inside I was memorizing every word, every detail, every piece of evidence that would put them away. The hardest part was family dinner. Sitting across from Marcus, watching him cut my meat because my tremors were so bad, hearing him talk to his sister Vanessa about how Mama's getting worse. Vanessa believed him too. Why wouldn't she? She lived in Chicago, only saw what they showed her on those video calls where I was still recovering from their poison. Mama called me 3 times yesterday asking the same question, Vanessa said during one visit, tears in her eyes. Marcus, I think you're right about the home. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to show her the folder of evidence I'd hidden behind Earl's old uniform in the closet. But Agent Coleman said, wait, we needed more, needed it airtight, needed it so clear that no jury could doubt it. So I waited, and I prayed, and I counted the days until my grandson Deshaun's graduation. Deshaun was the light in all this darkness. That boy had his granddaddy's heart and his grandmother's eyes, saw things others missed. He'd started coming by more often, bringing me groceries, sitting with me even when I was confused. One day he whispered, Grandma, I know something's wrong. I see how you are after Mom and Dad leave versus when they're here. I wanted to tell him everything, but I couldn't risk it. Instead, I just patted his hand with my supposedly trembling one and said, Baby, just remember your grandma loves you, no matter what happens. The plan for the graduation was Agent Coleman's idea. Public exposure, she called it. These types can't stand having their masks ripped off in front of everyone they've been fooling. Marcus and Brittany had been playing the devoted son and daughter-in-law for 3 years, getting sympathy from everyone about their burden of caring for me. Their church friends, their co-workers, their neighbors, all thought they were saints. The morning of the graduation, I put on my best dress, the purple one Earl bought me for our 25th anniversary that I'd kept wrapped in tissue all these years. I fixed my hair just right, put on the lipstick I saved for special occasions, and looked at myself in the mirror. Dorothy Mae Washington, I said to my reflection, today the truth comes to light. Roosevelt High School's auditorium was packed with about 200 people, families, teachers, community members, all there to celebrate our babies graduating. Deshaun was valedictorian, and I was so proud I could burst, even with everything else going on. Marcus and Brittany sat beside me, Brittany with her phone out ready to record any episodes I might have. When they called for family members who wanted to say something, I stood up. Marcus tried to pull me back down. Mama, you're confused, he hissed, but I was already walking to that microphone with a strength that came from somewhere deeper than my tired bones. My name is Dorothy Mae Washington, I began, my voice carrying clear across that auditorium, and I'm 64 years old. Before my grandson gives his beautiful speech, before we celebrate these young people's achievements, I need y'all to know something. Where are you watching from today? Memphis, Jackson, Birmingham? Because what I'm about to reveal happens everywhere, and the FBI agents standing at those doors are here for a reason. The murmur that went through that crowd sounded like wind through leaves. I saw Marcus stand up, saw his face change when he spotted the agents, saw Brittany's phone drop from her shaking hands. For 3 years, I continued, pulling out my phone to play the recording, my son and his wife have been poisoning me, stealing from me, and planning my death. I hit play, and Brittany's voice filled that auditorium. Once we get Mama in that home, the insurance money will set us up for life. The gas from the crowd was like thunder. Marcus tried to run, but Agent Coleman was ready. They tackled him right there in the aisle, his face pressed against the floor of the auditorium where he'd graduated high school himself 20 years ago. Brittany started screaming about me being crazy and vindictive, but then other voices started rising from the crowd. "That's what happened to my mama," someone shouted. "They did the same thing to my aunt," another voice called out. The truth was spreading like fire through dry grass. All those families who'd been suffering in silence, thinking they were alone, thinking they were crazy, suddenly realizing they'd been victims of the same evil. Deshaun stood at the podium, tears streaming down his face, and when he spoke, his voice was steady. "My grandmother is the strongest woman I know. She raised us all with love and dignity, and today she showed us what courage really looks like." Then he walked over and wrapped his arms around me, and baby, I held that child like I'd never let go. The news crews showed up within minutes. Someone had been live streaming, and it went viral before the police even finished reading Marcus's rights. By that evening, my story was everywhere. The sisters from church surrounded me like a prayer circle made flesh, and Pastor Williams himself drove me home, saying, "Sister Dorothy, you did the Lord's work today." The trial was hard. Sitting in that courtroom, testifying against my own child, watching them play those videos Brittany made of me suffering, it about broke me. But then I'd look at the gallery and see the other victims, the other families who'd found justice because I spoke up, and I'd find my strength again. Marcus got 25 years federal time. Brittany got the same. They found evidence of the whole network, doctors who lost their licenses selling the drugs, fake companies laundering the money, a whole system built on destroying the elderly. $2.3 million recovered, though most of us would never see our money again. I got $180,000 in restitution, enough to pay off the house and have something left for Deshaun's law school. Yes, law school. That boy decided he was going to be a prosecutor, specialized in elder abuse cases. "Grandma," he told me, "nobody's going to hurt you or anyone like you again, not on my watch." The hardest part wasn't the trial, or the publicity, or even the death threats from Brittany's family. The hardest part was accepting that I'd lost my son long before that day in the auditorium. The Marcus I raised, the one who used to leave dandelions on my pillow because he couldn't afford real flowers for Mother's Day, that boy had been gone for years, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. I think about that sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep. How greed can poison a soul worse than any drug can poison a body. How the child you sacrificed everything for can look at you and see nothing but dollar signs. But then I remember what my mama used to say. Some folks choose the devil's path, baby, and all you can do is pray for their souls and protect yourself. Now I travel around to churches and senior centers, telling my story, warning folks about the signs. I started a foundation called Earl's Shield, named after my husband, to help protect the elderly from this kind of abuse. We've helped over 500 families so far, and that YouTube channel Brittany made, we use it as evidence in training videos for law enforcement. If you're watching this and something feels wrong in your gut about how your family is treating you, trust that feeling. If they're pushing papers at you, asking about your will, suggesting you're confused when you know you're not, get help. Call the Elder Abuse Hotline. Talk to someone at your church. Reach out to a trusted friend. Don't let shame keep you silent because there's no shame in being betrayed by someone you love. The shame is all theirs to carry. I still live in my little duplex in Orange Mound. Still go to Mint Olive Baptist every Sunday. Still put flowers on Earl's grave and tell him about our grandson, the future lawyer. I'm stronger now, but sadder too, carrying a grief that won't ever fully heal. But I'm alive, I'm free, and I'm using my pain to protect others. To my son, if you're watching this from wherever they have you locked up, I want you to know that I forgive you. Not for your sake, but for mine. I won't carry hate in my heart, because that's not how your daddy and I raised you, even if you forgot everything we taught you. I pray for your soul every night, Marcus. I pray you find your way back to the light. And to everyone else watching, remember this. The truth always comes to light. It might take time, might take courage you don't think you have, but evil can't hide forever. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about checking on your elderly loved ones, then share it. Someone out there needs to hear it. Someone's mama or grandmama is suffering in silence right now, thinking they're crazy, thinking they're alone. They're not alone. None of us are. That's what I learned through all this. That when you speak your truth, you give others permission to speak theirs. When you stand up to evil, you show others they can stand too. We're stronger together than any schemer, any thief, any poisoner could ever be. I'm Dorothy Mae Washington. I'm 64 years old, and I survived. More than that, I thrived. And if you're going through something similar, baby, you can too. The Lord doesn't give us more than we can bear, but sometimes He gives us exactly enough to show us how strong we really are. Comment below if you've seen elder abuse in your community. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. Like if you believe justice was served, subscribe for more stories of triumph over betrayal.